Thank you for listening to this worship podcast of St. Andrew Lutheran Church. We hope this recording provides you with a moment of God's grace wherever this finds you. Know that you're welcome to join us in person for worship in Eden Prairie on Sunday mornings at 9 or 10:30. And also know that any contribution you make will bolster St. Andrew's ministry and outreach, including our podcasting directly to you. You can do so online. Welcome and God's blessings to you. Please be seated. It's a privilege and an honor here to be with you here this morning, and really for 11 years. I want to say first, though, thanks to the council and the call committee for a robust and an affirming process with really good people and great conversations. I'd like to thank the council for the work here, Brendan, and all those who helped convene this unusual meeting time between services here this morning and all the hands that made it work. On a personal level, I want to thank my family here too. So Michelle is up here in the front here. Alex and Liam are in the back row there. Our Andrew is up at Duluth already in college, but they are also here as well as family members. And so I also want to thank the staff here at St. Andrew for the work that we have been doing for so long, but most importantly and most poignantly over the last 8 months together in my interim role. And I also want to thank all of you, members, friends here of St. Andrew Lutheran Church. In the spring of about 12 years ago, I was buying paint at the Sherwin-Williams store across the highway. And I bumped into an old friend of my college choir, Director Carl Erickson. And he said to me, Peter, St. Andrew is looking for a new pastor. And so that got the ball rolling. Carl is here somewhere. Thank you, Carl, for getting that ball rolling. And it began, thank you, Carl. But it began with relationships. And you and I both know that over 11, 12 years of ministry, relationships start forming up. Because we need other people to do life and faith with. There have been countless opportunities here over these 11 years for me to engage with many of you, some on really profoundly deep levels, some on lesser levels, of course. That's the nature of life. But you can't do life and you can't do faith without a neighbor, without a friend, without someone beside us to strengthen us, to hold on to us so that we can lean into them and help them in their time of need, but also we can receive as much as we can give. And so I just am so grateful for those 11 years of relationships that is part of what makes this day possible as we think not just about what we have already done and where we've come from, but where we are going. I also want you to feel, and I know you see and feel, that the Spirit, the capital S, is alive in this place. There's something about it that is hard sometimes to describe, but it's something that you see, it's something that you feel, it's something that you trust, and it gives us a smile, and it gives us hope for the future. And St. Andrew Lutheran Church is a place where I feel that Spirit, God's Spirit, alive and well. In all of my 25, 26 years, my 11 years here at St. Andrew is the longest I've been in any one place. And I've had some wonderful opportunities in ministry. But the relationships to grow and also that's the Spirit to be a part of us and moving us forward is a beautiful, beautiful thing to capture, to remember, and to move forward. So I do want you to think about how we at St. Andrew nurture the future of faith. We, as a congregation here in the Southwest Metro, a vibrant congregation full of faith, full of good relationship, but we nurture the future of faith for ourselves, that we're on a journey and on a path of discovery and of newness, All of us, it doesn't matter our stage, our point of life and faith, we're always going to be surprised by the goodness of God's love in Christ. New, fresh, engaging. And we also have a chance, too, at the same time, to think about how we might nurture the future of faith for people who are not part of St. Andrew and not part of the community of faith in a deep way yet. And so we nurture the future of faith here together. And we'll be talking more about that as we make our way forward. So I give thanks for the opportunity to merge into that with you. During the service here at 9 o'clock during Sunday school, the children were gathered, and Shauna, our children's ministry director, asked the question, and there's these little art projects that came forth here that were given to me as Michelle and I made our way into the office. Nice congratulations drawing here. Another one, good job, you're a great pasture, which is good. Yep. I appreciate that. And then also, first of all, congrats, but please, 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 please flip over. Please get a swimming pool in the gym. Well, I don't think we'll be calling a congregational meeting to vote on that anytime soon. But my point, though, is that St. Andrew Lutheran Church has a job to do. We have a job to do. The Spirit is alive here. God's goodness is alive and well, bringing love and peace into our lives, into our families, into our community. We hold on to each other. We remind each other of that when it isn't perhaps feeling that way. That's what we do mutually here together as a people of God. But we do have work to do. And I thank you now and in the future for how you are going to play a role in that. Thanks be to God for the opportunity. And we have worship here in 3 minutes for our 10:30 service. It might start at 10:35, perhaps, but thank you for being you, and thanks be to God for today.
So this past Sunday here at St. Andrew Lutheran Church, we had a near unanimous vote to elect Pastor Peter Johnson as our new senior pastor here at St. Andrew. And the congregation, we all couldn't be more thrilled to have this opportunity. So, just want to take this moment to say, Peter, congrats. And
thanks, Sam.
Thank you for, continuing this next chapter of your leadership. And so what I want to do today in this little conversation between you and I is just kind of go over your history and, maybe what led you to St. Andrew and just talk about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sam, and for this opportunity to share a little bit more about myself. Sunday was a very memorable day for me and for my family. It's been 11 years that I've been here at St. Andrew and have really loved so much of what life and ministry is about here in Eden Prairie. We live in Edina, but are part of this broader community of people here at St. Andrew, and it's a blessing. People are great here, and we have had such shared relationship over these 11 years, and an honor and a privilege and a blessing and a challenge for me to now take on the role here of senior pastor at St. Andrew. So thanks for the chance to visit more about ministry here and about life, and so thanks for that.
Yeah. So why don't you give us a little bit of background? I know you've served many places and done many things, and give us a few highlights.
Yeah, sure. Well, so the 11 years that I've been at St. Andrew, as I mentioned, has been terrific, and it's been the longest, frankly, I've been in any one place as a pastor and as a kid, actually, in that respect. So my dad, David, was a Lutheran pastor, as was my grandfather as well. And so I grew up in the church and as a pastor's kid, and we served in a variety of communities. Some pastors stick around in the same community for a long time, which is great. But others have different kinds of God opportunities to be about in the world. And so my earliest memories are in a little congregation in San Antonio, Texas, called Prince of Peace Lutheran Church, where, like I said, I was there from 2 years old to 8 years old, and so those were my earliest years of Dad being a pastor, my mom an organist, and being a part of the church community. I still picture that in my head. My dad, though, and mom too, but Dad especially, was really engaged in the international church and the work of God in the entire world, and so he's always had a pull that to be part of the wider church. And so there was a opportunity for him to be a pastor of 2 interdenominational congregations in Cairo, Egypt. And so for 5 years then, for my elementary and junior high years then, it was Mom and Dad and my brother and sister and myself, the 5 of us, as Lutheran missionaries serving 2 interdenominational congregations, living in a southern suburb of Cairo, Egypt, as a kid. So for me, growing up then in the church still and at school, at our international school, but have always been surrounded by faithful people in the churches and the homes that we the relationships that my family has had, and in this case, we just had a real collection of international people. And a lot of different denominations as well. So we were Lutheran very much to the core of our identity, but we had all kinds of denominations in one community. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. When you're in an international setting like that, you just find the ways to be together in the important ways. And some of those other things are also important, but you can share in the unity. And I still actually think that's really important today in our world. That we learn to honor both our backgrounds, but also our togetherness. I think that's important for us today too. So those years were really rich for me because it gave me my pull factor for international life too, and really loved that experience too. And my family is very tight. So I have a twin brother, Eric, and so he was my playmate through thick and thin. My best friend still to this day, and so he has lived in Atlanta now for a couple decades now, and we haven't lived in the same time zone for nearly as long, but we're still super close given all the experiences. Because we also moved from Cairo to Fargo, North Dakota. For my high school years, which, people can say, out of Egypt into the promised land of North Dakota, right? And so we had, I think, a really rich experience in Fargo. South High graduate in '88. And my dad, again, was a pastor of a church, St. John by Lindenwood Park, and Mom was the organist, and it was a very nice, calm place to be. Again, I was with my brother and my family too, but we fit in and did all that we could do as we learned again American music and learned how to watch TV again and play the American sports and things, although we didn't have very competitive sports. So when we lived overseas, we tried to fit in as best we could when we moved to Fargo, or didn't fit in those ways. I wasn't a competitive player later in high school, let's just say that, but still enjoy sports a lot. And so as I said, the pull that my family had was instrumental for me as well, because when I graduated from high school and went to Gustavus as a freshman, my dad shifted gears again and moved to Jerusalem, to Israel, and served Palestinian refugees with the Lutheran World Federation's Department of World Service there. And so in our college directory, I became someone from Jerusalem, and when I went home, so to speak, during my college years and seminary years, I would go to Jerusalem, and that further ensconced me in the Middle East, into the Arab world, and Islam, and just the wider expressions of faith, Christian and otherwise, in the world, and it was really shaping and dynamic for me and the whole family. And so when I went to seminary, I not only did a Master of Divinity to be a pastor, but also did alongside a Master of Arts in Islamic Studies. So I've really enjoyed the opportunity to dive a little bit more deeply into our neighbor's faith as well. So so that's kind of my upbringing story, I guess, of how my family, at least, and my background in that way during those years helped shape and form and give me a sense of call for congregational ministry and worldwide ministry too, which of course is a part of my continuing story as well.
Nice. You talked about the importance of your time internationally, and it just brings to mind that as a pastor here at St. Andrew, you've led a lot of trips to Belize and to the Holy Land. We had a great conversation with Lorianne Gillick recently and talked about your time in the Holy Land. So tell us a little bit about how that has enriched your ministry here.
Yeah, thanks. It is very much a part of my upbringing, as I said, from those early years, as well as my time prior to coming to St. Andrew, when I had been a pastor in two different places, in New York and in South Minneapolis. But when a job posting came for a regional representative for the Middle East within our church's global mission unit of the ELCA, it was a quick apply for me because it was just right up my alley, and I felt the call right away to be a part of that, and gratefully so did they. And so then we ourselves moved then to Egypt. Our boys were about the same age as I was when I was there, when I was growing up. Interestingly enough, at least Alex, our oldest, was. And so I came to St. Andrew from that experience as well, and so that is indeed what one of my qualities is being a part of the global church and feeling comfortable in the global church and the variety of expressions of faithfulness in friendships and relationships and shared purpose. And one of the things that I've delighted in over the course of my time at St. Andrew is a chance to take people from St. Andrew to see the friends and the vital work that is happening in Egypt and Israel, Palestine, and also had a Germany trip thrown in here as well too, but to be able to expose ourselves to what God is doing so widely. There's so many more ways that we know God, yet we also, the mystery of and majesty of God and how God inspires people to faith is fascinating and beautiful to participate in and see. And so the St. Andrew's United Church of Cairo, no relation to St. Andrew Lutheran Church, but United Church of Cairo is where I served then in those Cairo days. And what I'm particularly impressed about that experience for me was how this little congregation that worshiped maybe 30 people on a Friday morning — we didn't worship on Sunday mornings, but Friday morning — but it had related to it a really large service program for refugees from the Horn of Africa in Iraq. And so this congregation had a real identity in serving in the world. And so to be able to invite and inspire people here at St. Andrew into the ministry in Haiti, for instance, that was well and running terrific even before I arrived, and practicing this accompaniment model of ministry, of empowering and listening and promoting sustainable approaches to congregational and leadership development that doesn't make us the center of attention, but makes the people who were serving the leaders was already well functioned when I got here. But being able to take several groups to Haiti and be a part of those growing and emerging programs, and more recently in Belize as well. We've made 2 mission trips to Belize, and so it opens people's eyes, insofar as it also just it opens my eyes and keeps my eyes open to how God is working, and just grants perspective and and vision for ministry that is that's marvelous to experience. So that's been one of the things that over the last 11 years that I've been really privileged to make known here at St. Andrew for the benefit of everybody.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think it's just a great. It's a great thing that we do here, and I think it's a great opportunity for the congregation.
Yep, we have mission trips coming to Belize next year again,
Right.
so sign on up. Yep, that's right.
So you served for the majority of your time here as pastor of small groups, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit more about that. I know it's a bit of a different job. You know, I've gone to church for, all 25 years of my life, and it's not it's not a job that I'd heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I think in a congregation like ours at St. Andrew, we will always have a commitment to break it down into smaller units of people for the development of relationship, support, friendships, and anchored in the faith. And so I think the dedication that we have here at St. Andrew that I was a part of here for many years was doing just that, was making sure that people could have a multitude of opportunities to link up either in something that was simple, like an educational presentation that doesn't require a whole lot of long-term engagement, to helping shepherd the groups that are long-term, that do develop and sustain themselves. A lot of these are like study groups that meet on Thursday nights or Wednesday mornings or other times when members say, let's study or let's read or it's let's grow in our faith. And do so in community. But I also think the very simple things like the patio crawls that was kind of a part of an initiative that we had to link up with community, getting together over a glass of beer and conversation. I love people, and we all have stories to share, and if we can develop some connective tissue between each other, when you come on Sunday mornings, you'll see, hey, Sam, and there's someone else that we know, or and that ultimately when push comes to shove, when something happens, then there's not just a hey, how are you, but there's more like, how can I help, or just know that I've really grown fond of you and hope you're doing better, or I'm aware of your circumstance. So builds community in the way we really want it to be. And so that's been really, really, frankly, fun to put those kinds of opportunities together to see how people can merge in and get to know each other. And then the other part of that was service related. So a lot of small groups are doing service. Just today, for instance, a group of people came by to pick up the donations to Forest Hills Elementary School, where we have a partnership, which was fun to put together with the help of Prop and the school district. And so Forest Hills is our partner. And so, 77 school supply packs are given to 77 students under the direction of the social worker. And that's a group of people who do that. And they have dropped it off here today and will be there for Eden Prairie orientation that's coming up here for the school. And kids will have their supplies. It's a lovely thing to see people doing something together that makes a difference in the lives of others in the community. It allows us to express our faith and put our hands and feet in action. And so any of those opportunities that we can do is a way that we can share our faith. Yeah. So that's been mainly where I've tried to engage with people and with groups and with purpose. Both in both of these ways for a number of years. So it's been a real blessing for me and an opportunity for me to get to know a lot of people and find those shared purposes together.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Yeah, a couple things that stood out to me as you were talking about small groups was, the sense of community and, that service part of it. And it brought me back to our missions or vision statement that we have been working on as a staff. So I'll just read that now. That's what I was pulling up on my phone here while you were talking. I promise I was still listening. So our vision statement is rooted in Christ, nurturing the future of faith by cultivating beloved community, encouraging faithful curiosity, and equipping all as servant leaders. So that's a mouthful
It's a
for
mouthful.
anyone who
Yeah, it
hasn't
is.
heard that before. So I'd love it if you'd break that down for us.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think the first thing that I would do is literally break it down and say, rooted in Christ, we nurture the future of faith. And so there's something that we discovered as a staff when we were doing this work here that you were a part of, Sam, too, that we wanted to find something that was aspirational, but something that floated our boats, that gave us something to think about both now and for the future. And so this "rooted in Christ" phrase, is a very Lutheran thing for us. It's a very strong commitment to the gospel of Jesus, the good news of Jesus, rooted in Christ, rooted in grace, rooted in love. This unconditional grace that God gives leads the way in the beginning of the vision statement. But rooted in Christ, we want to nurture the future of faith, and so faith is a present and a growing and emerging and a possibility, opportunity moving forward as well. I think it doesn't matter how old or young we are. The notion of faith being dynamic and alive, I think, is really, really important. God continues to show up in our lives. God continues to remind us of goodness and love and mercy in our world, even amidst the challenges that we undergo. And so there's this future faith that we always want to be expectant and longing for at the same time. Expect it and long for it. But I also think it's a great statement because it allows us to think about how we as a congregation are engaging with our community around us. And so it allows us to think creatively and dynamically about St. Andrew. We've always have been an innovative place. I'm grateful that St. Andrew has been okay with us doing a little experimenting here and there. Worship hasn't stayed always the same. We've added and shifted and changed over the years. And so we, I think, have proved that we can be dynamic and creative, which makes it a terrific place to be in my mind. But when we nurture the future of faith in our statement, that invites us into that kind of creativity and potentially even change. That the future of faith takes different shapes for different people in our society. There's a lot of talk in our society as we look at it and study it carefully about where Christianity is going, what's happening with the 20 and 30 somethings, what's happening with our children and grandchildren, and how do we interface with them with the gospel of love and grace of Jesus Christ in a life-giving way for a new community of people that we also want to number one, occupy our chairs in our sanctuary on Sunday mornings, or if faith is expressed or lived out in other ways, we want to be in those places also. If it's in acts of service where young adults want to express their faith through acts of service, then we'll pack Feed My Starving Children meals in October, for instance, because that's putting faith in action, and it's and so. The opportunity to think dynamically and creatively about what the future of faith looks like, I think, is super fun and challenging at the same time. But that's where I would start, is breaking it down, because it is a lot of words. So rooted in Christ, we nurture the future of faith is the first part of it. But we, as you know, did, as a staff, then talk about three other things that we think are really important. So cultivating beloved community. I think we know what that looks like and feels like. I think we also know when we don't experience beloved community, what that looks and feels like in our hearts. And as we think empathetically about people around us in our society, in our world, this whole concept of belonging is really important in the Christian faith, I think. And so this cultivating beloved community is one of the bullet points underneath the vision statement that I think we want to work on and keep in front of us. And staff has been really good about thinking about how do we do that, and what are we doing to cultivate beloved community. And so it's not just community, but it's a community with a descriptor, that everybody belongs in that way. But then also encouraging faithful curiosity is one of those things too. And again, this is leaning into a bit of our 2024 and beyond. Like, how do we foster faithful curiosity in our world, in ourselves, in our world? Many of us, whenever we do at St. Andrew, not only our classes and studies within our own faith, but when we explore other people's faiths, people are really excited. They really kind of we get good attendance, for instance, when we do things about other faiths. But even so, there are people out there in our world who are just have a God consciousness, but need to be met where they are. And so I think cultivating or a kind of encouraging faithful curiosity is, I think, the future of the church too, is to come alongside people on their journeys. And then finally, the last part of it too, the last bullet point is equipping all as servant leaders. So we just have to always live in the fact that doesn't matter who you are or where you live or where your job is or what school you go to, you have a way in your life of living out your faith in daily life, which continues to be our mission statement at St. Andrew. But we want to make sure that everyone is encouraged to live out their faith, and equipping all as servant leaders says that we all have contributions to make, that we do make, and that we can make. And together, as an organization, as a church, pooled all together, those can be even more impacting. And so that's where this new vision statement, thanks to you and other staff members we were working with, rooted in Christ, we nurture the future of faith by three things: cultivating beloved community, by encouraging faithful curiosity, and third, by equipping all as servant leaders. So we think that works, and we think that's something we can drive into here, moving forward here into 2024 and beyond, 3 years or longer, and just work those and invite people into that task of interpreting them for their church, but also for themselves.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it gives, everyone who calls this place home a lot to think about. Because, you have people who've been coming here for years.
For
right?
sure. It's great. Yeah.
You have, people who grew up here. I think about Adam in the booth. And then, you have people like me. I've only been here for about 9 months. Mm-hmm. So I'm relatively new. And, how those people sort of coalesce and, come into the same space and feel welcome there. Mm-hmm. and feel, like we're in the same car, going down the same road.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's a great kind of roadmap for us moving forward. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, I think that's really where, just to respond to that too, I think I love how you put the question of those of us who are, and I count myself included now too, that we're the people that have been around a while and have a confidence in community and in faith, always learning and growing at the same time, but keeping an eye out for the members of our community who are in a very intentional way to welcome. To have and foster that sense of belonging. So I think one of the things that people know about me too is that I do really appreciate the relationships that I have with people, but I also will seek out those who I don't know, often sometimes even at the expense of people who I do. But people who know me well enough know that okay, Sam, you and I can touch base, and I see you every day of the week too. But I need to go over here and talk to these people because I need to make sure they belong too. Right. Because I know Sam belongs, but it's a question of how do we make everybody belong, and we do as the best that we can while we maintain our really strong friendships and relationships and things here that we're also thinking outwardly about what that means. I think that's important too. Yeah. Well, I'll leave off with one last question for you. Mm-hmm. As you move into, obviously you've been interim for a while, about 6 months now, 7. Mm-hmm. What do you see as things that you're really optimistic about as you move into a more permanent role as senior pastor of the church, and what are some challenges that you foresee?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think without a doubt the health of St. Andrew is evident here on Sunday at our congregational meeting and the kinds of affirmation that of course, it's part of it in a vote for me to become the next senior pastor is wonderful for me, but I also think it's an affirmation of the whole community too. I mean, I think that it's worthy to celebrate the fact that we had, over 400 people here on August a Sunday with really good enthusiasm together, because what carries us through is the spirit I mentioned on Sunday. The capital S spirit is present here at St. Andrew. People appreciate God and their home church, and I can see it and I can feel it. I know what it feels like, and God does those kinds of things, and I give thanks that this place is as good as it is, because it's a terrific congregation. And so that's the kind of thing that's going to all the congregations that I've served. It's about the local people and their faithful commitment to community and to sharing. And to being part of this and as a part of their other parts of life and giving and sharing as they can. And so St. Andrew has that in spades. So that's going to be great. And I think moving forward as well, I mean, one of the things that that we look forward to doing is making sure that we are implementing, a ministry that fulfills this vision and our mission here in the best possible way. And so the important staffing work and decisions and hiring process, frankly, is going to be really, really exciting and important for us here moving forward, and we're making some good headway in those areas. But that's also really full of opportunity too, because it gives us a chance to see, okay, so where are we? What are the opportunities we have? Who are the people that are out there that can come and be a part of our team here together in our collaborative staff here? And so I'm looking forward to that. That's also a challenge too. Obviously, is to put those things together. But I think that is ultimately too, like I said, an opportunity here that will grow. And we'll have the opportunity for ministry to take shape in really good ways moving forward. So I'm just really pleased about this week here, this first week as senior pastor now, and for the beginnings now of this more permanent work now of moving the ministry forward with the help of God and everybody here by my side. Yeah.
Well, we'll leave it off there. Look forward to October. October 6th will be Peter's installation. That'll be in the afternoon, too.
2:00 in the afternoon. Yep, we'll have the community back together again for a special service here of installation, and we look forward to having all of the fanfare around that and people participating in it as we move forward in that way. Mm-hmm.
Well, great. Thank you for taking the time and having this conversation with me today. I think this is great, and people respond really well to it.
Excellent. Thanks, Sam, for having me. Appreciate the chance to visit.
Of course.
Yep. Thank you for listening to this worship podcast of St. Andrew Lutheran Church. We hope that this recording provides you with a moment of God's grace wherever this finds you. Any contribution you make to St. Andrew will bolster our ministry and outreach, including our podcasting directly to you. You can do so online. Thank you for joining us for this podcast, and I wish you every blessing from Christ today.